Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another edition of Orpheus Plays. Although this is, it's been a while. I haven't put anything on the mental health playlist. And so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than my normal fare. Some of the videos on the playlist needed a little bit of extra help. And I always promised you that I would bring a little bit of a well-rounded creator when it comes to this stuff. Many creators may dip into their lives a little bit, and a lot of creators may also tell a lot of, abusive stories about their lives. And I wanted to add to that pool of knowledge. I wanted to give you a little glimpse into what it was like to grow up in an abusive household. And not only that, but to give you a little bit, maybe, of perspective, my hand is going weird. A little bit of perspective on that. But also, if you're someone who lives in an environment like that, I want to tell these tales along the way to let you know you're not alone. To let you know that there are other people out there who have gone through this and that you're not alone. You just need to reach out. So I just wanted to choose this environment. This is the, oh boy, I don't even remember what this is. The Alpine Lodge here in the Oculus home environment. I figured it's a heat wave going on for a lot of people in the country, so we would switch to a nice, cool, and yet cozy sort of environment. Lots of snow outside. This is gorgeous. Nice little fireside chat. So, before we get started, I wanted to preface this with the same thing, the disclaimer that I say in a lot of my videos that deal with mental health. And it is this: I am not a licensed anything when it comes to psychology or psychiatry or any sort of counseling. I don't hold a degree in any sort of medical field or any sort of counseling field. And I am not, again, licensed for any sort of advice or anything like that. With that being said, I am someone who has lived through these experiences. I'm someone that has gone through a lot of these, troubles and conditions. I live with them every single day. And I think that I have a little bit of unique perspective. Well, not unique, but I have a good perspective on how those things work. Again, because I've just lived through them and I deal with them as I get older and learn to cope with them, hopefully a little bit. So we're going to try to tell a story here. This is going to be kind of a rough one for me. This is a story about when I was growing up and why I have, no one likes going to the dentist. I understand that it's not a pleasant experience, but I have a rather unique sort of experience that goes along with that makes it so going to the dentist connects with a real anxiety and a real sense of dread for me. Okay, so when I was about 10 or 11, it had to be around then, I remember going to the dentist. Back in the day, the dentist was just as unpleasant as you might imagine. Now, they just didn't have things like twilight dentistry where they can put you out and do all the work you need without having to, having to go through all of it. You just don't remember any of it. It's fine. No laser dentistry, nothing like that. It was you go in, you get probed and poked, and you get your report and you get your x-rays or those big things in your mouth. We had fluoride treatments and all that unpleasant stuff. If you don't do fluoride treatments these days, go look it up, where they used to fill like a mouth guard with this gel that if you swallowed it, you get sick. And they give you a choice of flavor, but you're not supposed to swallow it. Whatever. Anyway, my dentist was particularly sadistic. We're not talking Steve Martin in Little Shop of Horrors sadistic. Go look it up. Decent part. We're not talking that, but we are talking, he was very unforgiving. He was one of those dentists that set the precedent today for not shaming you, like not, not being one of those dentists that's, oh, I see you didn't floss enough. Well, we're going to have to do something about, like that. But this guy was also sort of vindictive. He'd like to really lay in on the poking and prodding when he knew that you weren't taking care of your teeth correctly. And like most kids, I hated taking care of my teeth, man. I had other things to do in my life besides brush my teeth. And, parents, if you're watching, you have young kids, or if you're older and you had kids at some point along the way, there's a couple things that are kind of a pain in the ass growing up with kids, raising them, and that is potty training and getting them to brush their teeth, right? Okay, so with me, it was the typical kid thing, except my dentist at the end of the appointment would go out and talk to my mom, or have her come into the exam room and say, here's what's going on. He's not brushing. He's not flossing. He's not, the typical stuff. Well, my mom started to get fed up because the dentist was warning about expensive dental work and everything. Now, to give you an idea, I've changed things, obviously, with my teeth, but I'm old enough to be, I'm not going to say how old I am. But I'm old enough that this is absolutely amazing. I've never had a single cavity. I've never had a single filling. I've never had to have braces or anything like that in my life. My DNA must be amazing because I've never had to have any serious dental work. No root canals, no anything like that. And a lot of you are like, holy crap, yeah, I'm lucky. But maybe it's my body's response system to what happened when I was a kid. Who knows? I'm being lighthearted about this right now because this is going to be a tough one for me. So my mom got fed up with this, and she would come home all the time. I think we did 6-month cleanings or something like that. And she would go home and tell my dad. And if you've watched other videos, you already know, my father was an extremely abusive person, verbally, mentally, physically abusive to me. There was no molestation by my father. That was from other people. Those are stories that I may at some point get to. Those are some very difficult things to recall and go through. I've never gone through them with anyone except for a little bit with my wife and with my therapist over the years. So that's going to be something that I think needs to be shared, but that's not this video. My father was very abusive. He would do things that were quite drastic. I have another video where I explain how he taught me the multiplication tables, where he would slap me if I got the wrong answer. I'm not going to gleefully tell you to go watch that one, but it's on my mental health playlist. So if you want to check that out, I will link that playlist at the end of this video. So my father had gotten fed up with the reports every 6 months or so that I wasn't taking care of my teeth. All of my baby teeth had already fallen out, and so we were talking about my regular teeth going on, and they didn't like this. It had built up to the point where they would start yelling at each other about not taking care of things, and I would be always in my room just kind of scared because, when they would fight, it was always bleeding over into my brother and I. And we knew something would be coming for one of us, and the tension was very high, and so everything was, you had to be kind of walking on eggshells. And so one day, my mom got a particularly nasty report from the dentist, and so she went home and called my father, because this was the one where my mom was told that, my teeth could start rotting and falling out, and it would be horribly expensive, and it would be, damaging to my face and all that stuff, and it could hurt my health and everything. By the way, folks, take care of your teeth. You can get a bacteria or an infection in your mouth that can travel in your bloodstream, go down to your heart, and actually kill you. Take care of your teeth, folks. No joke. So she called my dad, and he decided to come home in an anger fit. My parents, both owned their own small business. Well, my dad owned a bigger business. My mom owned her own businesses. And so my dad was able to just drive home. It took about 35, 40 minutes for that to happen. So when my mom would call my dad, I knew immediately that it was time. I had 35, 40 minutes until that, my dad get home and things would start happening. And sometimes that anticipation was worse than the abuse that I would get. I mean, proportionally, right? A little bit of a hit, with a belt several times. Anyway, that anticipation would be worse. And this time I knew it would be bad because this had been going on for a few years. So he got home, and my mom, again, sort of explained it fully. Didn't have time on the phone before. And again, I was in my room, and I heard that going out onto the kitchen, and they started yelling at each other. And it got to the point where I heard, okay, fine, I'll do something about it. And that was my dad. And I heard him coming down the hallway, and this was a very particular reactive mechanism, hypervigilance that I had when I was a kid, and I still have to this day. I would hear him coming down the hallway a specific way. He was a large man, and I don't mean 6 foot something. He was fat. He was 5'11" and 500 pounds, something like that, at his worst. And I would hear him coming down the hallway, and you could hear him, the way that he would be swaggering down the hallway, you could hear him swinging his arms with each footfall. And I remember him coming around the corner to my room and opening the door, and he came across the room and grabbed me, and he said, come on, I'm going to teach you how to brush your teeth. The bathroom that my brother and I used was right around the corner from my room, so you'd walk out my door, and it was immediately right here, and there was the bathroom that we used. We called it the blue bathroom because it had blue tiling and everything in that, and we had the yellow bathroom that was... Anyway, I'm getting off because I'm really avoiding this. Took me into the bathroom, and one of the walls of the bathroom with the sinks right here, 2 sinks, was a wall of mirrors. And a lot of you might have this in your own home. The entire wall down to the countertop is a mirror. And so you can see obviously you can see everything right there going on. And my dad stood behind me. He held me at the sink up against the counter. And he was directly behind me, and he pressed his weight against me so I couldn't go anywhere. And he pulled out of his jacket pocket a brass wire brush. One of the ones that you would use basically not to clean your grill necessarily, but other parts. It's about that long, looks like a toothbrush, but one end is covered with the brass bristles instead of anything like nylon or the regular toothbrush. He grabbed my head, and he turned on the water and put some toothpaste on the brush, and he started to brush my teeth with it. I don't have to tell you how much that hurt. You can already imagine. It shredded up my gums pretty good. Sorry. This one's hard. It shredded up my gums pretty good. It scraped my teeth up. To this day, my teeth have kind of a rough feeling no matter how much I brush them. It bent one of the teeth on my lower jaw. Pushed it forward a little bit. Pushed the other teeth back. And that went on for about 30-45 seconds, and it was agony, but not just because of the pain. It was another instance where I realized that my father was a cruel person, that he was willing to hurt his own family in order to either work out frustration or to try to shape his family into the ideal that he wanted. But again, this was a man who owned a business, who was respected by hundreds of people. This was a man who could go out and charm everybody in the room. He would buy drinks for everyone and start singing by the end of the night and telling stories and being a charming person. But he had the ability to go home and do that to his children. I've never been able to see brushing my teeth ever again because I saw the whole thing in the mirror in front of me. I couldn't stop looking at myself when it was happening. I couldn't stop seeing the blood coming out of my mouth. I've never loved my father one bit. He was the cruelest person since I was born. The only things that I remember about him were cruelness, except when he would call for sanctuary. I've done a video on that as well. I think it's in the other one. I can't remember right now. The video about sanctuary talks about how he would call a truce, basically, and I want to be able to be a family this weekend, a normal family. I'm doing a video soon about what a normal family is. What does that mean, even? And why it was always something I wanted, but anyway, that's another video. I learned early on, and it was reinforced throughout my life, that I don't trust my parents. I never did. I never felt like they wanted me there. Anyway, some of you that go through the same abuse, physical, mental, verbal, being molested, whatever it is, I want you to know there are people out there like me who understand that. We've been through things. I've been through things. We're here. If you need someone to reach out to, I never called anybody or told anybody. I had to cover it up. I said that I fell down off my bike and scraped up my mouth. You know, the classic ways that you cover up abuse when you're in public. But if it's happening to you, don't be afraid. Please call somebody. Talk to somebody. Talk to someone at your school, at your job, your friends, a family member that you trust. Talk to them. Get out of that abusive situation before you turn out so damaged that you have so few options and you have to learn how to cope with that the rest of your life. I hope this has been a little bit educational. I hope it's been a little bit enlightening. And again, I never say I hope you enjoyed it, because these are not stories to enjoy. These are stories to tell you about. There are screwed up things out in the world that happen all the time, and if they happen to you, you are not alone. Be good. Do good. Treat yourself well, because you deserve it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.